Breaking news. One of Jeffrey Epstein's key enablers has been located in Brazil. Jean Luc Brunel has been located, according to media reports, gone missing ever since the Epstein murder. Now, they've raided Epstein's apartment in Paris. They've raided the modeling agency of Jean Luc Brunel, and we're getting more information as we speak. But children as young as 12, thousands of children were trafficked from France to New York, with the cover story of, modeling contracts and the like an open secret, the casting couch, the works for these children that wanted to be celebrities, that wanted to be stars, and the like. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, with the current news reports on the impeachment and Ukraine, many people have totally forgotten about the Epstein case, the murder, the body doubles, the connections to the current and former presidents, prime ministers, you name it, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody seems to be implicated in this case. Everybody had a motive to take out Epstein. And of course, there's hardly anybody that doubts the fact that he was whacked during his stay in New York. And of course, the cameras malfunctioned. You've got the cellmate that was being moved. You've got all sorts of other troubling aspects of this case. The suicide watch that never existed. People that were at the prison that weren't even supposed to be working at the prison. Of course, you've got the images of Epstein that don't seem to match known images of Epstein. But the most troubling aspects, perhaps, are the connections to this administration, who's now under investigation for what looks like foreign interference in the 2020 election. Pretty much admitted, verified. It's like a bank robber, beating the rap, and the very next day they're at it again. That's basically what we're looking at with this administration, to say the least. And as much as you might like, what they have to say, you can't deny that they're all connected. They're all connected, the Clintons, the Epsteins, Hollywood, all of these people that we've been talking about since the WikiLeaks, they're all connected. And just by chance, after this, comes out, there's all these Gladio B events. There's even an impeachment and the like, and they're desperate to make you forget about this Epstein connection, and they want you thinking, oh, I've got to defend this president from this impeachment, because obviously nobody out there really thinks it's a crime to investigate, criminal activity. That's what people are supposed to do. It definitely seems like this administration fell into a trap. A ploy was laid out to basically force the president to get involved with negotiations for some kind of criminal case in the Ukraine situation. A lot of interesting information there as far as hidden servers, CrowdStrike, everybody going out to Ukraine to get paid and the like. And there's multiple names associated with Ukraine: Manafort, Flynn. You've got the Podestas, and you've got selective prosecution of those cases as well. The whole thing is tainted, and I don't think a whole lot of people on the right are going to feel too bad about investigating creepy Biden for corruption. And I think the big breaking news here, in case you haven't figured it out, is that the entire system is corrupt. What is this system, this beast system, ladies and gentlemen, that's ushering in the cashless society, the deep state, the 1984 Orwellian world that we live in, the eugenics programs? They're poisoning the food, the air, the water. They've got this pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. Seems like they're all worshiping the devil. What is going on here? It's an invasion from another world. They've taken over like they live, and people have been body snatched by this demonic virus, and it basically plugs them into a hive mind, the dark matrix as we call it. That's a whole nother story, to say the least. But none of the guilty parties have been arrested during this administration. Not the coup d'etat members of the FBI, not Hillary, not Obama is ISIS, certainly not Zuckerberg that's been censoring free speech in America. They're basically rolling out their communist proletariat out there, complete with a credit score system based on, your political views. And, none of that has been stopped. Instead, they're, looking to, take your guns with gun control laws. They're looking to roll out the 5G. They haven't built a single mile of wall. Plus, they're connected to Epstein and the Clintons. And they're on the record for being lifelong Democrats, and they're not stopping, these mega corporations from plugging into the Pentagon like Amazon and Google and the like. It doesn't get any scarier than that. Of course, our last channel has been frozen. We're on the backup channel right now. And, this is just the way it goes. And they're getting quicker when it comes to banning our content or disabling our pages. And, the last couple of pages that we'd put up are pretty much gone right now, frozen in time. We're starting up a new page, this one, let people know where we've landed. It'll take a little while again before we can get, the crowd back. But for the last, year and a half merely, we've been facing some hardcore censorship. We're not the only ones. And, this administration just goes around like it's not really happening. They certainly haven't done anything. They've talked the talk. They've said, we're going to investigate. They even had a social media summit, but they haven't done anything except invite Zuckerberg over for coffee and kissed his, white ass, ladies and gentlemen. In any case, the Skynet situation is a big threat to us all. The Robocops, the Terminators, the Elysium Society, everything that's coming. These things are already starting to look like, Star Wars and the like. And it's only a matter of time before they're used against us, just like the other tech from Silicon Valley, the other tech from Facebook and Google and the like. So we really need some pushback on all of these issues, the 5G, the immigration, the Skynet, the censorship, the eugenics programs. And instead of action, we just get words. And that's basically been the downfall of this administration. Had they acted sooner to take out the enemy, we certainly wouldn't be sitting in a situation like we are today. But unfortunately now the country is super divided. All the conservatives have a big target on their back. And they seem to be protecting, their own, the Democrats from New York, protecting themselves. And nothing seems to, basically work out in terms of prosecuting these people. They weren't able to prosecute Epstein. They weren't able to get anything out of Epstein. They didn't prosecute Hillary. They're not prosecuting Obama. They're not prosecuting anybody. And with the creepy Biden situation, you'd think that this video evidence would be enough. I mean, here he is pinching the nipple of a little girl, and you'd think that would be enough to end his candidacy, but instead he's like the front runner basically. And if it's not him, it's Elizabeth Warren. I mean, look, it's a nightmare. You'd think with a country of 350 million people, we'd be able to find better candidates than these shills, but the system is basically completely locked out. We're locked out of the system, we should say, and it's become a runaway train. And the insane are at the controls. And they're looking to doom us all, ladies and gentlemen, because they're a cult of death, like a bunch of Charlie Manson groupies at Jonestown. And they're like, here, drink the Kool-Aid, ladies and gentlemen. Of course you don't want to drink the Kool-Aid. Of course you've had enough of this skull and bones system, this New World Order system, this beast system. But a lot of people, fell back asleep after the 2016 election, thinking that they've won somehow. What have they delivered? They've doubled, tripled immigration, rolling out 5G everywhere, connected to Epstein, hired Acosta, covering up the crimes and the like. And while, their suspected crimes really aren't that, major when it comes to Russia, Ukraine, and the like, the Epstein thing is so much worse. But they're not talking about Epstein. They're not talking about the children that were lifted from Mar-a-Lago And, they're not talking about any of that. Instead, they're just kind of playing dumb, like, where was, this guy from? Literally, when it came to the Acosta situation, they were like, where was Acosta from? Oh, yeah, Miami. Oh, yeah, well, look, that was a long time ago, and other people were involved. But, it really looked bad. The whole thing looks really bad. And if it looks like a duck and acts like a duck, it's probably Donald fucking Duck out there, ladies and gentlemen. And there's just really too many red flags to ignore. You have to feel bad for, everybody involved in this situation. But you also have to feel bad for all of the people that are, being victimized day and night by this beast system. And especially the children, they're being sexualized, indoctrinated in schools, and this president certainly hasn't stepped up to that, hasn't stepped up to this beast system at all. And it's been just, a wild disappointment watching, the last 2 or 3 years. I know a lot of people were excited when Trump was elected, but, 3 years later, basically, what do we got? And it's a catastrophe. And it's a huge failure of leadership. And, they've never been able to, really solidify their authority in this government. Instead, they've been, they've been basically, they've become a little clique, just, hiding in the White House, trying to fight back. And they've been, terribly unsuccessful by most standards. I mean, you can pick out some victories and the like. They weren't, convicted on the Russian thing, but, they spent 2 years on that bogus story when they really should have been on the offense. And I think that even if you look at it in, the best case scenario, ladies and gentlemen, there's some serious failure in leadership here. And, the question is, do you want 4 more years of nothing? What are the choices? You're certainly not going to vote for the Democrats out there that want to murder children. But, could we get a third-party candidate? Could we get another conservative to run against Trump? What are the chances that Trump basically is forced to resign and Pence takes over as the 46th president? I think that, no matter how we look at it right now, it's a catastrophe unless we introduce a new choice into this equation. If we're forced to choose, between what they give us, like a final entrapment, then we're certainly not going to win. We think that, a third party candidate would be the best choice here, ladies and gentlemen, to break this 2-party system before, they basically automate us all and assimilate us all into their matrix. And, the time to do that is pretty much right now. And I think people really need to get serious about what's going on out there in terms of, this New World Order system. As cliche as that sounds, that pyramid is still on the back of the dollar bill. 1776 was also the birth date of the Illuminati. There's a lot of real shady things in our history. And, if you follow the Nazi gold and the like, and, you look at 9/11, you're pretty convinced out there that whatever is going on in this country, it's not good news. And the situation is, truly getting worse out there. We've gone from the happy days, Leave It to Beaver, to where we are today. And we just can't stress that enough. I mean, that tells you the direction that we're going. It's total devolution out there. And, the television continues on with its bread and circus. They want you thinking about, one Gladio B event after another, one, crisis event after another. But the situation is rigged, and it's like a wrestling match. And as long as you're picking one wrestler or another, then the system has got you. You really have to, look outside the box, look outside the ring, if you will. And you may like what some of these people have to say on the environment. You may like what they have to say about, equality or the like. But at the end of the day, this is literally a suicidal cult of death, like Jonestown, like, Helter Skelter. Charlie Manson groupies. That's what these people are about. They're about destroying the planet. They're about destroying creation, because what they're into, it isn't about politics, it's about religion. And you can see this everywhere you look on television. It's 24/7 product placement for the dark side, for the devil itself, ladies and gentlemen. And whether it be the movies, the music, the news, they're always plugging the 7 deadly sins. Come take your selfie, go on Instagram, drive up the pride and envy and the like, and if it's not one thing, it's another. These people are anti-Christian. This system is anti-Christian by design, and that's the reason why they're banning the Bible in California. That's the reason why they're banning free speech in America. That's the reason why they're coming after your guns. They want you defenseless. They know that silence is consent. They know if you don't have weapons to defend yourselves, they can just basically throw you into these FEMA camps, onto these prison trains for execution. And there's a reason why you have these amendments, and there's a reason why we have these 10 commandments. And when you see them tread on that, know that you're dealing with pure evil. You can tell them by their fruits, ladies and gentlemen. And what's happening in this country is literally the uprising of of the Luciferian left, of the living dead, if you will. And we can't save them all. We got to save who we can, and we got to focus on young people. We got to focus on our communities. Obviously, the big cities are lost. We should be building walls around those places, and and quarantining the outbreak. But until we can deport the libtards and do something about this outbreak, the situation is just going to continue to get worse. And right now they're in control of television, music, corporations, politics, finance, and the like. We're basically being held captive. We're slaves, and our only recourse in the physical world really is to raise awareness and to get people on the same page. Right now we're fighting each other because we're watching this wrestling match on television, and we're like, no, we're for this guy, no, we're for that guy. But at the end of the day, a divided country cannot stand, ladies and gentlemen. And it's literally the pages of the Bible playing out before your very eyes. We're up against the dark side. We're up against legions of evil, demonic creatures from another world invading this planet, body snatching people, and stealing their souls and contaminating the world in many different ways. And we need to see beyond what we think we see out there in the Matrix, and understand that there's much more going on than just people walking around out there. And no matter where you sit on that perspective, you undoubtedly have this feeling that you're not alone in this universe. And that's to say the least, ladies and gentlemen. We're literally in the middle of a huge war, a war of good versus evil out there. And you've got these evildoers out there with a big smile and the 3-piece suit, and they're telling you what you want to hear. But they're con men, like the devil itself. They're con men, ladies and gentlemen. Never forget that. And no matter who you vote for in this beast system, you're going to end up being the loser. And you may not, realize it right away, but the clock is ticking. And before we know it, we're going to end up in these FEMA camps. Before we know it, they're going to be rolling out the Terminators and the Skynet. Before we know it, it's going to be the end of humanity. And we'll have let it happen because they basically hypnotized us with the television. They censored us, banned us. And while we're talking about Ukraine, we're not talking about these pedophiles. We're not talking about these Luciferians. Instead, we're trying to defend the system. Don't defend the system, ladies and gentlemen. Disobey. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.